Welcome to Story Planet, where we bring you relaxing tales to help you unwind. Tonight's story is A Life in the Sands. So settle in, get cozy, and let yourself drift into a world of peace and warmth. Now let's begin. In the heart of a vast and golden desert, where the sands whispered ancient secrets to the wind, there stood a solitary home. Built of sun-baked clay and adorned with colorful hand-woven rugs, it stood resilient against the endless expanse of dunes. This was the home of the Al-Safi family, who had lived here for generations, carving a life of harmony and sufficiency from the arid land. The house blended effortlessly with its surroundings, its walls the same warm hue as the sand. The roof was flat, providing a place to sleep under the stars on cool nights, and the courtyard was shaded by a few hardy date palms. These palms, with their fronds swaying gently in the desert breeze, seemed to stand as guardians over the family's humble but sturdy home. Small clay pots filled with succulents lined the courtyard, their green hues a gentle contrast to the ochre landscape. The family's well, a deep reservoir of life-giving water, was adorned with a simple wooden pulley and a weathered rope that creaked softly as it was drawn. Inside the home, the air carried a faint scent of cedarwood and dried herbs. Colorful woven rugs covered the clay floors, their intricate patterns reflecting the stories of the desert and the family's heritage. A modest hearth served as the heart of the home, where Amira cooked meals with a skill that made even the simplest ingredients feel like a feast. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, its beauty both stark and mesmerizing. By day, it shimmered like a golden sea beneath the fierce sun, and by night, it transformed into a mystical realm under a canopy of stars so vast and brilliant it felt as though they could touch the heavens. The silence of the desert was profound, broken only by the occasional rustle of wind across the dunes or the distant call of a desert fox. This was a land of extremes, but it was home, and the Al-Safis cherished every grain of sand. Every corner of their home bore the imprint of their life, from the faint scent of cedarwood that lingered in the storage rooms to the hand-woven curtains that swayed gently in the breeze, diffusing the harsh sunlight. Even the walls of the house, baked and cracked by the desert's embrace, seemed to tell stories of generations past. The day began with the first rays of dawn spilling over the dunes, painting the sands in hues of pink and orange. Amira, the matriarch, stirred the coals in the clay hearth as her husband Hassan fetched water from the deep well they had dug themselves many years ago. Their daughter, Lena, just 11 years old, hummed softly as she fed the chickens that wandered freely around their courtyard. The soft clucking of the birds mingled with the chirping of desert sparrows, creating a gentle morning symphony that blended seamlessly with the rustle of date palms swaying in the cool morning breeze. Amira worked with quiet precision, her hands deftly shaping dough into perfect rounds for the morning's flatbreads. The dough's aroma mingled with the faint scent of chamomile tea brewing in a small kettle by the fire. She often glanced at the horizon, where the sun's first light kissed the dunes, finding comfort in the predictable rhythm of the desert's dawn. Breakfast was simple but nourishing. Flatbreads cooked over the open flame, a tangy yogurt made from the milk of their goats, and a drizzle of honey harvested from their desert beehive. Lena skipped across the courtyard, carrying small bowls of scraps to feed the chickens, her laughter ringing out as the birds eagerly pecked at her feet. The courtyard was alive with the gentle hum of morning activity, and the air was filled with the mingling scents of fresh bread, warm sand, and blooming jasmine. As they ate together on a woven mat spread across the courtyard, Hassan recounted a dream he had about finding a hidden oasis. Lena listened wide-eyed, imagining the shimmering water and lush greenery he described. Amira smiled, adding her thoughts on the dream's meaning, her voice steady and full of quiet wisdom. "The desert gives what we need," Amira often said, her tone thoughtful and serene. "We just have to listen and respect it." After breakfast, the family began their daily chores. Lena carried small jugs of water to the garden, humming a tune she had learned from her grandmother. Hassan checked the well's depth, ensuring their water supply was secure, while Amira tended to the herbs and vegetables growing in the shaded patches of their courtyard. Every task, though simple, carried a sense of purpose and connection to the land. Their mornings, though filled with work, were harmonious and peaceful. The desert seemed to awaken alongside them, its vastness a reminder of both their challenges and their blessings. The family's rhythm was unhurried yet deliberate, each moment imbued with a sense of gratitude for the life they had built together. The family's self-sufficiency was born of necessity, but had grown into a way of life that felt sacred. They planted hardy crops in their small garden, using water sparingly and covering the soil with straw to keep it cool. Date palms shaded the edges of their home, their fruit a staple in the family's diet. During harvest season, the family worked together to gather the dates, drying them under the unyielding sun to preserve them for the lean months of winter. Lena loved the sweet stickiness of the fresh dates, sneaking a few into her pockets as they worked. Amira's pantry was a treasure trove of their labor. Jars of sun-dried tomatoes, preserved lemons, and fragrant herbs tied in neat bundles hung from the ceiling. The family stored grains like barley and millet in clay pots sealed tight to keep out moisture and pests. Nothing was wasted, and everything had its purpose. Amira often told Lena that the desert rewarded those who planned wisely and worked with care. In the evenings, Hassan tended to the goats and camels. Their milk was turned into butter and cheese, and their wool was spun into thread on a wooden spindle passed down through the family. Lena loved to help her father, giggling as the goats nudged her with their noses, their eyes like liquid amber reflecting the desert's eternal light. The family's efforts stretched far beyond the practical. Amira wove baskets from palm fronds in the afternoons, and these weren't just functional items, they were works of art. Each weave told a story, of their heritage, of the sandstorms they had survived, and of the beauty they found in the desert's simplicity. Lena often sat beside her, watching in awe as her mother's hands moved with practiced precision. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dunes, the family prepared for their favorite time of day. The heat of the desert gave way to a cool, soothing breeze, and the sky became a canvas of deep blues and purples, dotted with the first twinkling stars. Dinner was served outside on a low table, the dishes spread across a woven mat. The meal was a celebration of their self-sufficiency. Flatbreads, lentil stew spiced with cumin and turmeric, and roasted vegetables flavored with a touch of preserved lemon. Hassan poured tea from a long-spouted kettle, the aroma of mint wafting through the air as they sipped from small, intricately decorated glasses. Lena often insisted on lighting a lantern, even though the moon's glow was usually enough to illuminate their feast. Conversation flowed as freely as the tea. Hassan spoke of his day tending the animals, while Lena recounted her small discoveries, a bird's nest hidden among the palms or the funny way the goats bleated when they wanted attention. Amira listened with a quiet smile, her eyes often drifting to the horizon, where the dunes seemed to ripple like waves under the moonlight. After dinner, they would stretch out on thick rugs under the open sky. This was their storytelling time, a cherished ritual that bound them to each other and to their ancestors. Hassan's deep voice wove tales of caravans that crossed the desert in ancient times, of brave explorers and hidden oases. Lena listened intently, her imagination painting vivid pictures of the worlds her father described. Sometimes Amira would join in, sharing stories of her own childhood, tales of resilience and joy in the face of the desert's challenges. The stars above seemed to listen too, their light steady and eternal. Lena often fell asleep to the sound of her parents' voices, her dreams filled with golden sands and whispered legends. As the years turned, Lena grew into a young woman, her heart as steadfast as the dunes that had shaped her. She learned to read the wind, to feel the subtle shifts in the air that signaled a sandstorm or a change in the seasons. She carried her parents' teachings close, understanding that the desert's gifts were both fragile and profound. Hassan and Amira, though older, continued their work with the same reverence. Together, they passed down the stories of their family to Lena, who began weaving them into her own. She would sit under the stars, writing by the light of the moon, crafting tales inspired by her life in the desert, tales that blended truth with magic, leaving room for wonder. The family's home became a haven for those who traveled the desert. Wanderers and traders often stopped by, drawn by the welcoming light of their hearth and the scent of freshly baked bread. The Al-Safis offered food, water, and stories, their generosity a reflection of their connection to the land. One evening, as the family gathered outside, Hassan spoke of the legacy they were building. "The desert remembers," he said, his voice steady. "Every step we take, every seed we plant, leaves a mark. Our lives are etched into the sand, carried by the wind, remembered by the stars." Lena looked at her parents, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the fire. She felt a deep sense of belonging, not just to her family but to the desert itself. "I will carry this forward," she promised. "Our stories, our way of life, it will not be forgotten." Amira reached for Lena's hand, her touch warm and steady, "And the desert will guide you, as it always has." The family sat in silence, their hearts full, as the stars above seemed to echo their unity. The desert, vast and eternal, held their legacy, a testament to a life lived in harmony with its rhythms. Thank you for joining us on Story Planet. If you felt like you were walking the sands of the desert, tasting the sweetness of dates and the freshness of desert rain, consider giving a thumbs up. And if the story brought you peace and calm, feel free to share it with friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe for daily stories from Story Planet, offering serene escapes every day. Wishing you a peaceful night and a relaxed sleep. Sweet dreams.